The minute I was born, my Shakespearean father took a step on the stage of life and declared, "Thou shalt call her Sadika after my mother." And his audience excitedly clapped him. While I lied in my hospital crib, I took my looking lens and looked at all the strange faces around me and shouted, "Hey guys, aren't I allowed to have my own unique name?" And ever since, wherever I went and whomever I met, I would hear the same story, especially from the ladies of the so-called society. "Hey, cutie pie, you look so cute, but we hope you would follow in your grandmother's footsteps." My first experience with following in my mother's footsteps was at the age of 5 years old. My 190 centimeters bulky grandmother walked into our living room and forwarded her movement towards me. And with her thunderous voice, she declared, while holding in her huge hands a red velvety box, "If you follow in my footsteps, those shiny emerald earrings are yours." And ever since, and for few years to come, their shining light blinded my eyes. And I was my grandmother. And it was never about me, never about my purpose, nor my dreams, nor my goals. Once in school, it was about my mother's expectations. Although I was an A student, but my cousin was an A+, and I was never enough. Whenever I entered that huge exam hall and sat on my wooden bench waiting for the exam sheet, I felt barefooted. And I kept focusing and searching for those shoes that were already there on my feet. All my focus would be on the shoes. Once the exam is done, my focus would shift to my mother's reaction when she would receive the grades. Once this is done, all my focus would shift to my teacher's feedback. And it was never about my purpose. Once at the university, guess whose expectations I had to live up to? My father's, of course. All through my teenagehood, I heard him repeat over and over again, "I dream of seeing you a famous surgeon." And thus, I joined the American University of Beirut and the biology department. But after one term, I realized that I wasn't made of doctor material. And I had to discuss the issue with my dad. "Hey, Dad, I don't like this major. I want to be an ambassador and represent my country, Lebanon, abroad. It's either medicine or forget about uni." And on that day, my father and I started building the wall of China, brick by brick. On one side, a father's ego stood and said, "Find someone else to pay your tuition fees." On the other side stood the pride of a daughter. "I will find someone to pay my tuition fees." And my aunt paid my way through political science and public administration. At the time, I took an oath not to repeat the same story with my children. But unfortunately, I was almost about to fall into the same trap when their father expressed his wishes that he wanted all 4 of our children to become civil engineers for them to continue his legacy. And I started brainwashing my children by saying, "You need to follow in the footsteps of your father," until my 2-year-old son fell ill. At the time, I was living in North Lebanon, and at the time, the civil war was raging. And in order to get my sick son to the American hospital in Beirut, I had to take a very dangerous ride with my 3-year-old daughter and 2-year-old son through the mountainous roads of Lebanon. And a trip that usually took 1 hour took us 10 hours. Once we reached the capital, there was a passage that divided the capital into 2 parts, East and West Beirut. And in order to cross that passage, we needed to go on foot. We stepped out of the car, carrying my ill son in one hand and dragging my 3-year-old daughter with the other, and a route that takes 15 minutes took us 5 hours. We got to the hospital, and I found my parents and the doctors waiting for us. The first question my mom asked, "How was your trip? We were so worried about you." And my 3-year-old daughter immediately replied, "Hey, Granny, it was so much fun. I got to see the Cedars Forest, and then the Bekaa Valley. And next, when we got to the capital of Beirut, we had to walk through a tiny forest. It was full of foliage and flowers, and on both sides, there were angels and fairies that lit up the way and protected us all the way to the hospital. Aren't we creatures born to help each other and protect each other? Hey, doctors, it's your turn now to take care of my sick brother." My 3-year-old daughter answered with a blow in the face, and many questions popped up in my head. Where and when did I lose my looking glass? Was it that day when I was lying in that hospital crib? Or at school? Or those emerald earrings? Or university? Who am I? We all fight the same battle, the battle of being happy, being successful, being recognized. But no one tells us that the easiest way to being all this is be yourself. And I realized that I was a seed, and we are seeds. An apple tree cannot give but apples. An orange tree cannot give but oranges. A lemon tree cannot give but lemons. The identity of a seed lies in its fruit. The identity of a human being lies in its purpose. Purpose precedes our existence. Reach out to your heart. Dig out that seed. Dust it off. Water it. Grow it until it bears fruit. And offer your purpose and your potential to your world. Thank you.